Going to get stuck into that in just a little bit. First up, though, the match that has us all foaming at the mouth because it's Man City versus Liverpool. First up, 12:30 UK time after the international break. Couldn't ask for a better way to kick off. Let's hear from Pep Guardiola on his opposite number, Jurgen Klopp, and his achievements at Liverpool.
Well, I think we are all friends. We know each other quite well. Of course, the time goes forward. So I've been Jurgen 8 years or 9 years in Liverpool, and of course, it's not the same players than since the start. And we built a little bit the team. The idea is quite similar. Of course, now Alexander-Arnold can play more inside sometimes outside. But the idea is quite similar and always have been our best rivals. And sometimes when the season didn't work well, was many injuries they had. Top club, top team, and looking forward for it.
You've been involved as a player and as a manager in big games. In world football now, this game, Manchester City versus Liverpool, is it up there with the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid, in your opinion?
No, it's different. I think it's different. If you compare Barcelona and Madrid, I think it's different. So Man City was never in the past. The last, 20, 30, 40 years was not, contender as Liverpool. But yeah, the last decade, since I think I'm here and they're here, we have been our best rivals. So this is the reality. And of course, still we are there. And that is a big compliment from Liverpool, Man City, that after many years, still we are there.
Hi, Pep. Erling Haaland missed Norway's game this week. Is he going to be fit for the game?
He trained yesterday with some needles, but today we had the last training. Hopefully he can be part of that.
This time last week, we learnt that Everton had been deducted 10 points by the Premier League, and amid all the discussion of that, people immediately started to talk about Manchester City and the 115 charges. You said the last time you spoke about that you wanted it dealt with immediately. It's not being dealt with immediately. What are your thoughts on that? Has your view changed? And do you still believe the club in the same way that you've always done in terms of answering those charges?
Why should not believe? What change?
Time, people change their minds.
It's not the case because this is the judge and the court and the Premier League lawyers and our lawyers to at the end make our defense, both defense in front of the judge, and after he go decide. I didn't change 1 second my opinion about take time, wait and see what they're going to decide, and after we'll accept the resolution. So all of you are journalists, and of course I'm not going to say one word about Everton because I don't know the reality or really happened. You are journalists, maybe you know, but that is for sure because I asked to the team that is two completely different cases. But completely. I know when the people like saying, okay, what City, why don't go to the conference? Wait, wait. And after, what's going to happen is going to happen.
Does it bother you that some people have already made their minds up that the club are guilty anyway?
Sorry?
Does it bother you that some people have already made their minds up that the club is guilty anyway?
Well, when you read and they should be relegated, we should be relegated, of course. And yeah, of course, because nobody knows exactly. All the people that say that didn't read the statement, didn't know exactly what happened. So not even myself happened. I didn't read all the breaches. I didn't read all our defense. So wait, what I said when a month ago it's coming here, I came here and I said, okay, if we have something wrong, okay, we'll be punished. So, but wait, we can defend ourselves, isn't it? We can defend what the people accuse us. So we are not agree what they say. We are going to defend. And after, when the revolution must be done. After that, I will be here like a spokesman of my club, and I want to say what the club I relate to the statement I've done before, but what I want to say, the case for Everton, but I don't know what happened. Only I know for my lawyers, for the people in the clubs, is completely different cases. So that's why we cannot compare, because every case is completely different.
Looking forward to it, but complicated set of TV rights and all sorts of things needing to come together and be worked out. City playing in midweek in the Champions League. That's why we're having this game after the international break at 12:30.
Yeah, and long may it continue. I listen. All of these arguments over when the teams play. This is the best, the richest, the most watched league in the world, and the clubs themselves decide when they want to play. And Liverpool and Manchester City, they both have stellar squads that are superb, that are so finely tuned and assembled. And I almost wonder if there's a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Humility, maybe, because they've done wonderful jobs to put together two sets of players that are ready to run for their lives, and you can put any permutation of players on either side onto the pitch tomorrow morning, and they will give us a spectacle. As far as Manchester City are concerned, we know all about their ability to impose themselves on the opposition. We know all about the invincibility of the Etihad Stadium. We've got to go back to December 2022 for the last time they lost there in the Premier League. And I just think, as far as Liverpool are concerned, that front line, if you're a defender, I'm glad you're not. You must be thinking, I'm glad I'm not a defender playing against Liverpool side tomorrow, because they're like the Avengers coming at you from all angles with all sorts of skills and offensive power. It's going to be a fabulous match tomorrow. And actually, as you say, it is so much more worth focusing on what both sides can bring to the table rather than any of the concerns that they might have around when it's scheduled.
I'm excited for the game. I'm even more excited now because you've used a Marvel reference. That is just, wow, man.
That's what my kids are watching at the moment at home.
Okay, well, I'd be watching that as well. Yeah. Tish, I'd love to hear your thoughts on City so far. You know, as Darren was saying, you have to go very far back for the last time they lost at home, but 23 games in a row in all competitions, winning at the Etihad. It's superb.
Psychologically, it's a lift for them right away. They've built up that confidence, momentum, belief, so they actually believe they're going to win. At the worst case, they won't lose. And that does have an effect on the opposing teams. When you go there, you know that they've not been beaten for so long, and you probably get one or two opportunities and you have to take them, because the likelihood is if you don't, you will get punished. So they've definitely got an edge over other teams.
Zesh, I joked a second ago about the fact that if you're a defender, you're worried about all of the players coming at you. But a big bedrock of Manchester City's success is that defence. How do you even start to think about plan for an attack where there are so many players, Diaz, Nunez, Salah, the ability to score from midfield, Szoboszlai? If you're a centre-half, if you're Ruben Diaz, what are you telling the players?
I think players at that level, they solve problems on the pitch themselves. So if they see that they're trying to get in behind, they're experienced enough to know to drop off. If they see they're now trying to play through, they're very experienced, they'll organise the team in front. And if they're trying to go around and put crosses in, they will solve it on themselves. So that's the reason why they're at that level. So I think no matter what Liverpool tried to do, Manchester City, Pep, the team, the preparation would have prepared for all what-if scenarios. But this is the difference at that level. You have to stay switched on, because it could be one set piece in the end. That's the undoing. So it's really a game of concentration and focus for both sides, because I think one key moment could decide it.
What I also find fascinating now, as you're saying, one key moment, what happened last time out against Chelsea? And how much does that add to it in terms of, you know, what Liverpool are looking to emulate that Chelsea made? 4 goals. I mean,
absolutely, for either side. And the one thing that surprised me about that game was that City conceded 4 goals.
Yeah.
That City went ahead and were paid back. You know, that City didn't see the job through once they got their noses in front. It was an incredible game, but these are the fine margins you're dealing with the top teams in the top league in the world. I think as far as City are concerned, they've got so many fabulous players, and they've got the ability to breach any front line as well. And obviously, when you've got a guy hunting for his 50th Premier League goal, I mean, goodness me, Erling Haaland.
The numbers are just ridiculous. We keep saying it's scary hours when it comes to Erling Haaland. But defenders, not such a great time.
I've got this thing I always say. So Haaland is like the monster that's chasing you, and you're in the car, and the car won't start if you're a defender. Because he just stalks you, and he's, obviously from the penalty spot, he's got no fear. But it's his ability to find space in behind, to wrong foot defenders. I mean, how do you leave a guy that good that much space?
Yeah, no matter what you do, he'll find a way. So if you break him down as a forward and have a little checklist, or is he deceptive? Is his positioning good? Is he on the move? Is he mobile in between? For a defender, all of these things are a nightmare. And he's doing it all the time. Yeah. So no matter what you do, in an essence, you're wrong. So if you go tight, he can spin in behind, he can have a battle, he can fight. So he's got a lot of tools in his locker that can undo you. So it's, a lot of teams have put 2 onto him. But even that's not been successful because someone else is free. Yeah. So even if he doesn't touch the ball, he's freed up enough space. So I'm glad I'm not playing. Put it that way.
Okay, well, here's the record that Darren was talking about. Fastest potentially to 50 goals, because those 2 goals that he scored against Chelsea took him to 49 goals in 47 Premier League appearances. You were saying there about how he manages to find space, how he manages to score goals, how he manages to just outsmart defenders, and he's doing it in this league, and he's doing it week in and week out. Just look at that. Andy Cole was after 65 games, he got his 50th. Haaland is just, it's scary.
And Julia, it's so important that you just made that point about this league, because when he was doing it in the German league, lots of people said, well, it's a German league. They're very disparaging and disrespectful, calling it a farmers' league. It's a fabulous league, the Bundesliga. But this league is more competitive than any other in European and world football. At the moment, there are 4 teams, 5 you could argue that some people say could be in with a shout of the title. And he plays for the most demanding manager, I would argue, in world football. And yet he is managing to rack up those numbers in so few games. I think us journalists, we've been debating where the game's going to be won and lost tomorrow. I think it will be in defence, because I think City's attack will be able to find holes in the Liverpool defence, more holes in the Liverpool defence than they will find in the City defence. And that's quite a hard thing to say when you've come off the back of 4-4 against Chelsea, to be fair. But I just think that at the Etihad, where they've got such an invincible record, it could well be... Listen, you've got to go back to 1937 for the last time Liverpool won back-to-back games against City at City. Yeah. I think as far as City are concerned, they're going to be too strong tomorrow.
This is why Zesh and I didn't prepare any stats come through. In recent years, City versus Liverpool has been the Premier League's most intense rivalry, often a title-deciding one. City have been indestructible at the Etihad, setting new records, and that adds extra spice to this weekend's already epic tie. Simply remarkable. Didn't think we'd ever be seeing Taylor Swift on Team Talks, but there you go. Let's hear now from Pep's opposite number, since we've heard from him. Here's Jurgen Klopp ahead of the big game.
I don't know even the lineup from last season, and not because I don't want to know it, I just don't think like this, and I don't want to compare and stuff like this. We had to improve from last season, it's clear. I actually think without any kind of changes we would have improved from last season, because the last season was just not good enough, was not ourselves and these kind of things, but we had to make changes as well, and we did that. And I'm not sure I described the team as 2.0. I think it's described rather the project, or the things we have to do as we need to grade Liverpool 2.0, because we had a very successful team and super team and super boys, super characters, but time is running. We all get older and stuff like this, and we will never be successful because we were successful, and that's what we have to had to. Not to understand, we knew it, but what we had to do, and that's what we did. And so far it looks like we brought in good players and all that, and now we have to make sure that we bring that consistently on the pitch. And Saturday is a big one, no doubt about that. It's the strongest team in the world for the last years, and so that's a massive task for each football team in the world, for us as well, but we will give it a try anyway.
City won 23 games in a row.
So we shall not drive them. And my record, our record is not great, right? That's the next thing you will tell me probably.
Well, I was going to ask, how much is this about maybe stopping them playing, and how much is it about allowing your team to express themselves?
What I know, the longer a run is going, the more likely it is that it ends. So we had that as well. I'm not sure it was Burnley, I think. Yeah. So there's always, it took much longer, by the way, but so we know they are extremely strong, and it's nothing what I can say what makes them weaker, to be honest. Otherwise I would say it, constantly repeat it, but there's nothing. This is a tough game, but yeah, whatever happens last year, what happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it's just a memory. It's nothing else. So we have to be ready for tomorrow, and that's what we try to be. And if we are that, that's what I said millions of times. If we can be really uncomfortable for them, then we have a chance. If they feel comfortable in their game, there's no team who can beat them. But if we can change that, then it's a chance. And we have to take it then on top of that, because that's not given then as well. But I like it. It's much nicer. I'm pretty sure. So I can't remember my feelings last year before the game, but I probably was not massively optimistic and thought, okay, let's go there and we change everything there now in that game. It feels like we are a bit closer. It's good. But on match day, you still have to win the decisive battles on the pitch. And that's what for that you need to be close enough to these decisive duels. And for that you have to be compact. And then on top of that, you have to play football yourself a lot. And that's all challenging, but all exciting as well. And yeah, let's see.
And finally, Darwin Núñez scored 3 goals for Uruguay in the international break. How much is his game, under Bielsa as well now, how much is his game developed, and is it such that he'd be ready to potentially get involved on Saturday?
It's not that we have 12 different players for that position, so they all came back pretty much from international. So we have to make these decisions, and and for these decisions I have to wait until at 3 is the meeting, at 4 is training. So yeah, until then, look in their eyes, talk to them, blah blah blah, and then figure out who is ready to start and who is probably better to bring on. But yes, they all, I would say, nearly all had a really good international break. So Colombia was really successful. Lucho scored twice, and Uruguay obviously did really well. So we have to see. But yes, he's in a good moment, and we want to use him as often as possible. But if it's possible, I don't know in this moment.
Hi, okay. Yeah. Obviously, there are some very big rivalries in the Premier League, but has this now become the biggest game in the Premier League?
I'm not sure if that's the same thing we are talking about. So the rivalry, I don't know. I have to ask other people. For us, from a sports point of view, it was the most difficult game you can play since years. Since I'm here, probably. So, but the rivalry probably is, you need longer, blah blah blah. The fans decide that and these kind of things. But from a football point of view, we needed some time to become a rival on the pitch. But then we were that and lost still games, and they lost against us and stuff like that. Big things, Champions League quarterfinal, I think was it. So big games. From football point of view, definitely yes.
Well, Darren made a very interesting point that City would be able to find the holes in that Liverpool defence a little bit more easily. What are the holes, do you think, the weaknesses in the Liverpool back line?
I think they've been really solid this season. So with Van Dijk leading from the back, it'll be difficult, I think, for Man City to pick holes as easily as Darren thinks. I'd have to disagree with you slightly on that. I think it's going to come down to concentration. So when you're playing at the back, it always helps when you've got partnerships and relationships within a back 4 or back 5 that you're used to playing with. And they look like they've got that right now. And it's also important that the new midfield, which has been really good, helps them out. Because in isolation, it's not just enough for the back 4. So I think it's going to come down to momentary lapses of concentration that might hurt them.
Sesh, very quickly, do you think that Trent will play at right back, or will he play and forward and he might leave space in behind, or do you think he'll play in central midfield?
I think it depends how aggressive in terms of attack Liverpool want to be. So if they want him to be an attacking fullback, they might start him as an attacking fullback, but their game plan will also factor in that there'll be space left behind. If they want to try to control the game a little bit more, because he's got that quality on the ball, they might start him in midfield. But no one knows the actual game plan. But we will see when he sets up what Klopp could be thinking in terms of where he positions Trent.
Okay, to be honest, we could spend an entire hour speaking just about this game. Before we move on, though, another record that is on the line is Mo Salah, 200 goals for Liverpool. This is just some of his numbers in all competitions. Only the 5th player to reach that milestone. He's on 198. This match has so many possible headlines, doesn't it?
It does. That's what makes it so brilliant. There are so many of the supporting cast, as it were, who could really step up, score goals and leave us salivating come Monday morning with Kelly and Wrighty. I think as far as Salah's concerned, he does need 2 goals from this game to get that mark. But we've seen him in this fixture before. There is that wonderful goal he scored a couple of years ago where he danced past 4 players from the right side of the box and managed to slip it past Edison. And as he gets older, the way he lives his life is such that he retains that ability, that sharpness, that edge. He doesn't rest on his laurels. And he also has that ability to bring other players into the play as well. That's what makes him so good. I think that I do think City will have the edge, but I do think Liverpool will score. And everything good about what Liverpool do tomorrow will come from Salah.
The top of the table is very tight. 1 point between the top 3 and just 3 points separating the top 5, with Aston Villa making up potentially a final Champions League place there. But Tottenham, having lost their last couple of games, and now 2 points off the lead, with Liverpool and Arsenal chasing down Manchester City. I mean, we talk about maybe Manchester City not looking quite as invincible as they have done, although not actually invincible, over the previous season. I need to be careful, sit next to Wrighty, talk about the Invincibles. But you know, they do feel that over previous seasons, they've had little wobbles within those seasons, but then they've gone on these huge winning runs. That hasn't quite happened this time around. Just to sort of wrap up the chat to wrap up the chat that we had with Chelsea, you know, they had a couple of defeats in a row, and they come back, they get pegged back by Chelsea. Do they look maybe a bit more vulnerable this season than they have done in previous seasons, where they've reached those like 90 plus points totals?
I think it's tough for us to say now, Kels, because...
Can I just say, qualify this, because you're having a little... this in the break as well.
No, I'm not.
All I'm saying is, when you look at the City side that have dropped a handful of points over a couple of seasons, it's maybe not going to be that this time around. It's going to be a high points total, but not... You know,
but the thing is, what
it's not going to come down to one game in a season.
But like you said, and rightly said, is that they have got the capability of just going on a 12-game just winning streak. The thing is that in this time, you know, what you've got to do is you've got to try and get something from them. I said, and we did beat them earlier on, we have to beat them at least once if we've got any ambitions of trying to win the league. You have to beat City at least once, because I think that the little problem they've got at the moment now is that they've got Guardiola on the left with Kovacic and Doku, and it's quite a new... They're settling in. I think they're settling in. And I remember I was watching Wolves, that Wolves done a lot of play diagonal over there because they're not quite on the levels of everybody else yet in what they're doing to understand. And I think that once the left side starts to really understand what's going on, then City will click into a proper gear. And I think that might be... And that's just me, Kels. I think that might be a little bit of oil in the water. But other than that, I think that they're still the ones. They're still the ones, you know. They weren't great.
This is
they weren't great, and they still scored 4 goals.
We're not comparing City to anyone else, bar
we can't.
Previous Manchester, a very recent Manchester City side, because that's the bar that they have set. And I was watching you sort of nodding along to that. They've got Liverpool, Tottenham and Villa coming up in their next 3 games after the international break. By the end of that, they could be well clear at the top of the table. They'll have put a dent in a couple of their title challenges campaigns as well. Yeah. But I just wonder if maybe they are marginally more vulnerable than they have been. If teams will think, we've got a chance, rather than we've got no chance.
It's a good question. And I think the pattern of their fall has been quite interesting, because they started the season really well. 6 wins in a row, all competitions. And they went on a run of 3 defeats in 4. And then before yesterday, they were back on a run of 5 straight wins. And again, all competitions. The interesting thing is the loss of Kevin De Bruyne, because he and Haaland have an outstanding understanding. And when they play together, De Bruyne is able to thread passes through and find Haaland wherever he is, as well as he's done so far this season, and that's how ridiculous a team they are. He would have scored more goals had De Bruyne been playing. And that's given other teams a chance, as you say. Plus that fact, and on these matters I'm going to defer to Rachel here, but Guardiola, I think, is the lowest profile £77 million defender I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he's come in, there's spent a huge amount of money, no one's talking about him. No. And yet, you're right, he's bedding down into a new system. Now, I always saw him as a left-sided centre-half, and when he plays for his country, he plays at centre-half, but he's playing on the left at the moment. So again, how difficult is that? And I think Kelly's right. With that in mind, it gives the opposition maybe just a little bit of a chink of light in so much as maybe we might have an opportunity to score goals and take the game to City in quite the same way that we haven't done before.
Yeah, I think just to play devil's advocate and counter that, though, I think, firstly, it's very difficult to go from being a left centre-back to left-back. There is an adjustment, but I think the advantage other teams will get will only be for a very short time. I mean, both him and Doku, I think, have started very, very well, considering not many players go to City and are straight in the team and play those significant minutes that they have seen. I do feel that in some ways, almost just that newness of those players, though, in some ways has given Pep an advantage, because I think he knows you need to keep developing, you need to keep adapting systems, you can't be predictable. And I think in some ways, just the way even Doku plays, he's very direct 1v1. He's more of a traditional winger, and he's very difficult to deal with. So in some ways, I can see teams will try and flip that to be something they can try and play on, but I actually think it's a new strength, because a new element of City that we maybe don't typically see.
And you're requiring them to be a bit off their game
as well, aren't you, when they turn it?
Just to be fair to Arsenal, De Bruyne comes back later in the season. Jurgen Timber comes back later in the season as well, and Timber looked a fantastic player.
That inverted right side for us, or left side. But like you made that, there was a good point. What I was going to say about that the left side again in respects of Guardiola and Doku, and again, I had a feeling that while that game was going on, Jack Grealish is going to be coming on soon, because I feel that he does the control. I know that with Doku, and he has started amazingly, and you don't normally see them come in and play that well for City and have such an impact. But like what I've noticed more than anything in the Chelsea game is that they didn't have the control on that left side, and that is why you believe, Jack Grealish will be probably coming on soon. And that is what I feel teams have to take advantage of, because we know what Doku can go do that way, but he's going to have to learn what's going on this way. And some of the times, you cannot, when you get the ball all the time, you're going to take your man on, because you want to control the ball as well some of the times and bring it back in. And I think that's why Jack Grealish came on again, because they're still trying to find that kind of balance on that side.
And I think when you're up against the Chelsea side that have the penetration they do, you need someone who can hold the ball up, which is what Grealish did when he came on. I like Doku because he does have that desire when he gets the ball to run at the defenders. There are lots of pieces across the papers on Sunday ahead of the game talking about the new age of the dribbler, the player that comes in and stands the defender up and puts him in a difficult frame of mind. Which way is he going to go? And even if they lose the ball, they're willing to go again. Sterling, Saka, Luis Diaz, and obviously Doku as well. Last weekend before this against, I think it was Bournemouth, 1 goal, 4 assists, the youngest player to do in the Premier League, and he loves it, and he's so young. So I think it is going to have to be the case that you will need, even though there were pieces saying maybe Grealish's place is under threat, actually, Grealish is going to be very important.
Vitally important.
And having said all of that with City, they are still the front runners. They are still the favourites to win the league. If it's not them, who do you think is leading the challenge? You've got Arsenal and Liverpool are a point off. Then you've got Tottenham a couple of points off. Then Villa with 3 points to go. And Villa would be hoping for Champions League football come the end of the season. That what you would imagine would be the top of their ambitions. But are any of the other three well-placed, do you think, to challenge?
I probably think Arsenal and Liverpool right now are in the pole positions to do that. I think Villa are sneaky, just like, I think that Unai is just, you lot get on with it. We just want to get fifth and just go about our business. But like even them and the run that they're on and how dangerous they looked is good as well. But I think that you probably have to look at Liverpool and Arsenal as the main protagonists in respects of trying to curtail them. We saw what Chelsea done. I think it's going to take an effort from everybody. Yeah. But what I'm pleased about with Arsenal at the minute is they're not playing great. You know, we've got some injuries like everybody else, but they're getting it done against the teams that you need to get it done against. And this doesn't, like we learnt last season, this time of the season where Arsenal were magnificent last season, it doesn't mean anything when you get down there and then City are on their run. You have to be in touch with them. And that's why I don't think people are getting too excited about what's going on with Arsenal at the moment and too negative, because we have to stay in touch. And I think Liverpool, starting to see the shoots with Liverpool, Kells, with the front three looking brilliant. You know, everybody's always talking about the midfield and the holding midfielder. Is that the player what's missing for Liverpool to go where they're going? I think that Van Dijk is back to the Van Dijk we know and love as a great player. And they've gone under the radar in what they're doing, Liverpool. And we know that they've got the experience to be able to mount a challenge and see it off. So you can't write Liverpool off now. What's that, nine on the spin? At home. And the front three look like this.
By 2 or more goals.
2 or more goals. Yeah. So they're in that place, man. You know, you want that. You want the team strong going to try and challenge this City team.
They're very similar to City in so much as they're near invincible at home.
Yeah.
And they've got so much firepower. I remember when they bought Gakpo, head of Manchester United, and one or two people thought, why have you bought another forward? But they are a team that if they try one way and it doesn't work, they try another and another and another before they find a way through. And there is no defence so far this season that has been able to curtail them. And Salah, he does so much. The goal involvements are just ridiculous. But it's also the way that he creates goals for other players as well. And already they've got an understanding.
A nice him and Nunes.
He's had some quiet games this season, Mo Salah, until you look at his numbers.
Yeah.
In those games where you say, it's a ridiculous thing to say, but to go, if you take the goals away, it's quite performance.
It's so really ridiculous when people say, but if you take the goal away, then what are we watching for?
Take the goals and the assists out of the equation. The other side.
All that.
He should just be working in a shop or something if you take the goals and the assists away. But, like, you look at him and you could see that there's a nice synergy with him and Nunes now. They're actually looking for each other. When you look at them, so you've got Salah, Nunes, Gakpo, Jota and Diaz. I don't think there's got 35 goals between them. That's happening. I think the midfield is something that will probably be tested simply because of that player that they say they needed, a Caicedo kind of player, which they tried for. But
Lavia. Also at Chelsea.
Lavia.
Right, let me ask you another question.
Go on.
Sorry, Kels.
Yeah,
no, I'm just going to put my feet up.
If you had, would you rather have Arsenal's defensive base? I mean, I think they've got the second best defensive record in the Premier League. Or Liverpool's offensive power?
I'm very Arsenal-centric because we built on defence, George Graham, so I'm always going to go with defence. Because what you can find is like what Arsenal done last year, they share the goals out. Whereas if you get it wrong in defence and you're weak in defence, you lose games. Whereas you can have a solid defence and not have an out-and-out striker or strikers as good as them guys who are scoring as frequently as them guys are going, but you could still maybe win a 1-0. But the defence is so solid, Darren, that you know, like I say with Arsenal when we played, if we scored 1-0, 1-2, I believed that we were going to win the game. And that is why my mind is always built on defence first.
And I know there's no point me asking.
No.
The captain of Scotland.
See, just on that point, it is interesting how you do feel the whole team feels and plays differently when you know that you've got a team that don't let in many goals, that have that structural base. It's kind of fascinating how just knowing that makes the more attacking players and the players that can play with that freedom.
It's like a safety net.
It's like they, for whatever reason, just actually then feel like they can go and show that flair that you need to have in the final third. If players can't feel like they can go and express themselves, it doesn't happen, but it lifts them knowing that behind them,
confidence.
We're solid.
Yeah.
The other thing as well, as we say, is that Liverpool have to play Man City twice this season, the first match of which is at the Etihad after the international break.
At 12:30.
Arsenal have already... Well, don't start. You sound like Jurgen Klopp now.
I feel sorry for him. But a game of that magnitude, how good it is, you know what I mean? I'd love that to have been in the evening or something, man. Gosh, 12:30.
Okay. But still going to be a great game. It's still going to be an important game.
I hope so, Kel. I know I'm not doing great advertising for the Premier League at the minute.
Jurgen Klopp was complaining about some of the scheduling. Mikel Arteta was in a much happier mood after their win against Burnley.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for asking me. VAR was right, the referee was right. Really good decision, really positive from Mikel to speak about that. Yeah, good decision.
Mikel Arteta loving the referees this week, loving the referees. Unfortunately, I think this is what we're going to call the Big Ange effect, because after he came out on Monday night and said, I'm not going to have a go at the referees, this is a difficult job, which is what Mikel Arteta himself said earlier in the season, but not so much after the last game. But look, he's come out, he said, I'm very much in favour of the referees now. The only person they've still to win over is Roberto De Zerbi at Brighton, who was not happy with the way that refereeing decisions went. He said, I don't like 80% of them.
80%.
The interviewer said, well, that's 20% you do like. 80% is still a big number.
I did feel
the latest manager to be upset with referees so far this season.
Shining brightly at Anfield, absolutely perfect. I'm Derek Ray, joined for commentary by former England international Lee Dixon, and we can't wait for this one to start with justifiable cause. It is Liverpool, and they face Brentford.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. I always get a buzz from being here. The players will feel the same.
He's in with a chance. It's got to be. Couldn't grab hold of it. Threat over for now, it seems. And this is how Liverpool start the game. Alisson gets the nod in goal. Trent Alexander-Arnold starts with Andrew Robertson in the wide defensive areas. Thiago starts with Jorginho Wijnaldum in central midfield. And they line up with just the one striker looking to do a bit of damage. Will he play it in? Well, he read that brilliantly at the back. Thiago. Oh, in with a chance! And it's there for him. There it is. A delightful start to this match. Just what they were hoping for.
Well, as we see from the replay, it's a classic pull-back cross that sets up the chance. And then a 2v1. Both of them teasing the goalkeeper. That really is a lovely worked goal.
The opening goal of the game then.
Goal for Liverpool. Number 9, Roberto Firmino.
Getting in there to take it away. Roberto Firmino. Mbeumo. And he read it well. And Mohamed Salah now. A really single-minded piece of defending to make sure nothing untoward happened. Ivan Toney. In a position from which they could potentially do a bit of damage here. Looked as though they meant business, but now they've got to try again. Excellent vision. Can he put it away? Will he? And a goal! They've increased their lead, and they don't want to be throwing it away from here.
Well, here's the replay, and it's a lovely, quick counter-attack that sets up the chance. And when he gets through to the keeper, he just smashes it past him and gives him no chance to think. A lovely finish.